I was shooting middle school football last night. Yeah, they won it. Yeah.
Welcome and thank you for attending tonight's forum for candidates seeking the seats on Carrollton City Council and for the office of Mayor of Carrollton. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the News Democrat and Carroll County High School FFA. I'm Jeff Moore, publisher of the News Democrat. I will serve as your moderator this evening. I'm assisted here in the front. Working with me is News Democrat editor Kristen Beck, and our FFA member just has not been able to get here yet, so Kristen's husband Greg has agreed to step in and keep time for us right now. We will begin the evening with the candidates for mayor, to be followed by the candidates for city council. I would like to briefly review the format for tonight's forum. Prior to the start of the forum, the candidates drew the order they would be seated in, which is the order for questions. None of the candidates have seen or had access to the questions they will be asked. The News Democrat staff has developed the questions we are asking tonight, and then we have the others that have been submitted by the audience. Kristen and I have reviewed those and determined which ones we will be posing to the candidates. We will begin with a 1-minute introduction by the candidates in the order they were drawn. That will be followed by questions. They will be assigned time limits on each question of somewhere between 1 and 2 minutes. You have a green light and a red light up front. The green light signifies that you have 20 seconds remaining on your answer, and when the red light comes on, you have 5 seconds. So please stay within your time limits, candidates, so I don't have to stop you. Our goal is to spend about 40 minutes with the 3 candidates for mayor and about 45 minutes with the contenders running for Carrollton City Council. We will get through as many questions as possible during the time we have set for each race. We will again have the ability for a rebuttal tonight. If you want to offer a rebuttal, you must signal me. This falls to the candidates. You must signal me after each of you answer the questions at hand in each one as we go through. The rebuttal is only to address an issue raised by your opponents on this single question, and no new issues may be raised in that rebuttal. At the end of tonight's segments, candidates for that office will each have 90 seconds for their closing remarks, and then we'll take a break after this one and then start the next one. For the audience, we ask you refrain from clapping or making noise during the forum. We will reserve time at the end for applause to thank the candidates for their time and participation. So let's get started. In the drawing this evening, our order came up as Dean Miller going first, Robb Adams second, and Hayley Franklin third. And I guess based on the drawing, who won and who didn't is still up in the air, right guys? Okay. We'll begin with the 60-second opening statement, and Mr. Miller, you can go first.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Dean Miller. Most of y'all out there know me. I'm married to Carroll. We've been married for over 40 years, even though she's a lot younger looking than me. We got 3 kids, Deanie, Billy, and Holly, 9 great grandchildren. And we've lived here ever since we've been married. We've never been anywhere else. We love it. Our home's here. Our kids are here. And that's why I'm running, trying to make it just a little better. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
Good evening. I'm Robb Adams. I live in the 300 block of 10th Street. I'm married to Marjorie. I have 3 children, 2 sons that are grown and gone, stepsons live here in the county, and my youngest daughter, Autumn, who is a freshman at Western, majoring in ballet. I work full-time for really 2 full-time jobs, if you will, but I work full-time. I'm a 30-year veteran of the fire service, fire and EMS, as a paramedic firefighter, and I spent 2 years on the city council, 2 terms, 4 years, and then the last 4 years as the mayor of the city of Carrollton. I've also served a 4-year term on the Union Fire Protection District Board of Trustees, I serve on the Ethics Committee at the Northern Kentucky Ad District, and I'm looking forward to another 4 years, and I've been honored to be the mayor of the city of Carrollton with the support that I've had. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Franklin, you have 60 seconds.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hayley Franklin. I'm sure most of you all know me. This is a dream of mine that I've had since 5th grade to run for mayor, and so here it is. I can't believe it's finally here. One thing that I'm really focused on is the youth in our community, and every person has a voice, and I want to be that sounding board as mayor if elected. I'm focused very heavily on diminishing substance abuse. I am the chair of Champions for a Drug-Free Carroll County, and I do know that that is an issue in Carroll County as well as the United States. So that is one of my major goals, and I also want to get a community center in the city. So that would be one of my main goals as mayor if elected, and I've had 6 years on city council, and this is my 6th year, and I've also had experience with planning and zoning. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the question portion of the evening. This first question you will have 90 seconds for. No, we'll start, you started first, so the first will be Mr. Adams this time. So here is your question. We have heard a lot of discussion about how there are so many homes and properties in the city that look dilapidated, run down, dirty, unkept, and junked up. Action through code enforcement does help, but it's a slow, drawn-out process that seems to repeat itself. How would you work to resolve this issue? You have 90 seconds.
Okay, and most of you know 4 years ago when I ran for mayor, that was the platform that I campaigned on. If you'll notice, and during the 4 years, I hope you've noticed that we've stuck to that. Since I've been mayor, we have added a code enforcement officer, another one. We have 2 full-time. One sticks with kind of building inspections and building issues because he's a licensed building inspector, which you need under the state law to address those issues. And then the other one kind of is geared toward nuisance type things. So we have put that program in place. It's been a huge success. It is easy to look around the city today and look like it's not been a success, which is a testimony of where we started and how bad it really was. We've got a lot of work to do. It's not a quick process regardless who the mayor is. Regardless who the mayor is, you don't vary from the process. That's set by the state and the judicial system. Everybody has rights. There's timelines, citations, warnings. Code enforcement board meets twice a month. They used to meet once a month. Actually, when I took over as mayor, they didn't meet at all. We had one, but it was not active. And they went to twice a month. And then you go through the court process, and sometimes to get something addressed, it's 6 months or even longer. So while it's easy to think we're not working on it, we are, and it's a problem, and we've addressed it, and we continue to address it in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Franklin, you have 90 seconds on that question.
I think Rob covered a lot when he said that we have been working on this issue. As my 6th year on city council, I think we have taken major strides on this issue. From when I first started in 2012 to now, we have really come a long way. And just thinking back in the past, what it used to look like, I think I'm even more proud now of what it looks like. And it is an issue and will continue to be an issue always. What I have learned being on city council, politics is slow. Things are slow moving, not necessarily the way I like to do things, but that's the way it is. Things are slow moving and you have to take the proper steps in getting them done. And I think that's what we are doing and continue to do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller, you have 90 seconds.
This is one of the main reasons I run. Although they said that there's been a lot of progress, I don't see it. I got a couple people here in the front that called me a slumlord. I do rent a lot of people, places, and I think I got one pretty good, and one lady did have a legitimate excuse. I believe the only thing that we can do, our houses are getting old, our people are getting old, and people want newer homes. The only way we're ever going to clean up Carrollton is the city's got to come up with a program, and I believe we need to buy some of these houses. Some of them need to be tore down, if they're not worth fixing up, and we need to fix the other ones up. We got a lot of smart people in Carrollton that could help us do this, 3C, DC, whatever, and we need to put them up for sale only to somebody that'll live in it, no rent. If you don't, in another 20 years, you're going to see another 20% rented, because the people that can afford to buy homes are not going to buy them in town unless we can get better. My brother built a new house. He built it next to an older house, and it took longer to sell than it should have for the house, and you know why. And as far as the city, they're abating people's property. I will never be in favor of taking someone's home for them. If they need help, we will try to get them help to get it going. Now, if the renters, like me, got crappy places, it needs to be taken care of, and I have no sympathy at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams asked to rebut. You have 30 seconds for your rebuttal.
I meant to also say the whole code enforcement thing comes down that we're not attacking any individual. It's a quality of life thing for not always who you're trying to address the issue with. It's the people that have to live around them and live with that. If you want, I'm not going to go over tonight. We don't have enough time. I'll be glad to meet with the individuals. Stop by City Hall, call me, whatever you want to do. I have a list of what has been accomplished, and I'll be glad to go over those with you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next question. It will be 60 seconds and begin with Ms. Franklin. The question goes like this. Some previous mayors have worked the position like a full-time job, while others have served in it as a part-time one, like the statute calls for. Please explain how you would carry out your duties as mayor if elected. Ms. Franklin, you have 60 seconds on this.
A lot of people ask this question when they say, or they find out that you're running for mayor, oh, that's a full-time job. It is. It definitely is a full-time job. You have to treat it as such because we know everybody in Carrollton. You can't go to Kroger without running into someone buying milk and say, hey, can you fix my sidewalk on 4th Street? You know, it is a full-time job, and beyond that, it goes on, it's not just 9 to 5. It goes on until 10 o'clock at night when you get questions on Facebook about stop signs and potholes and far more important things than that. It is definitely a full-time job, and you must treat it as such. If elected, I would, absolutely. And, you know, you just have to be there for the people no matter what, and that is what a full-time job is.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller, you have 60 seconds on this one.
I also agree that it's more of a full-time job. I asked some city council before I took this job, what's it involved and what do you got to do? The response I got is what you want to make of it. And I can't do nothing halfway. If I do it, it's gone. Rob's got a full-time job, but I'm sure he still is a full-time mayor. When you get home, your cell phone is still there, so no matter who it is, it's a full-time job. And just like no matter who it is, I'm sure that anybody you call, they're going to answer your phone or get back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, you have 60 seconds.
I don't know that you need to hear for the third time it is a full-time job, but it is. Years ago it was not. We've added services, we've added staff, we've added amenities to the city, and it now is a full-time job. It's classified part-time. Fortunately, my full-time job, if you will, the schedule that I work allows me to be here 3 or 4 days a week, and in the 4 years as mayor, my employer has allowed me to trade shifts or take off or do what I needed to do to be here when I needed to be in the city of Carrollton, whether it was a crisis going on, emergency going on, a meeting. I've never canceled a city council meeting because I needed to be on duty. They're really lenient with me, and they allow me to do that. So that will continue, and I'm available 24/7 even when I'm on duty. And I do lots of city business, if you will, while I'm there, and that I can do by computer and phone. So the city has not suffered in any way due to me having a 24/48 job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question will begin with Mr. Miller, and you will have 90 seconds on this one. Our downtown has a problem with empty buildings. Some are vacant due to poor condition. Others have owners who don't want to rent or sell them. How would you address this? 90 seconds.
Well, the worst thing they did downtown is when they let everybody just use them for rental properties. When they did that, they took away the parking. When you take away the parking, the only thing you can do in small places is where you can get to in and out and everything. Well, we can't do that. The city's tried subsidizing property, but the landowners have asked too much rent because of that. We need to get a good stable, which they've got one, hopefully, that's working. It'll be the best thing that we've had downtown in quite a while. I personally think it's good enough that I just purchased the building downtown. And I was disappointed in the city that bought 2 buildings downtown, which said all they want to do is make it better, but they bought 2 buildings and voted to tear both of them down. You don't build up but tear them down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, you have 90 seconds on this.
Okay, I'll start by saying the empty buildings downtown, if the owner does not want to sell them, you can't force them to sell. So first and foremost, if I own a building and you've got $1 million, it's no good to me if I don't want to sell my building. That is where we are in some of those buildings down there. I will tell you that almost 4 years into my first term, we have finally landed an investor that has purchased the JCC building and is going to make a business out of that will offer things for everybody. It's going to be a sit-down restaurant, microbrewery with a beer garden, live music, not every night, not every weekend, but that's kind of, I'm looking at that as the anchor store of downtown. I can't tell you what he's going to do in the future. I can't tell you that he has the money to do it, and he's inquired about other buildings. So that's a big break for the city of Carrollton. Not Robb Adams as mayor, for the people that live here in this county and this city, that's a break for us. I don't think there's a parking problem. I can name you plenty of places to park, and the city has another parking lot we're going to finish next year if I'm mayor. It's been on the radar. We did have some buildings that we're going to tear down. One of them we tried to save. I'll be glad to go over that in detail on the steps and why it led to that it cannot be saved. And then the other one was to help the library, be a good neighbor to the library. It's a key anchor downtown and help them expand. I'll be glad to elaborate on that in private.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Franklin, you have 90 seconds.
I think we can argue throughout the years that downtown has come in and out of some successes. There have been successful shops down there. I think one thing that we can do as citizens is to shop local. We can give back to our community and shop local, make sure you don't always think, oh, let's go to Florence or let's go to Louisville. Make sure you shop local when you can, and that will really help our downtown economy. I think it's going to thrive more. Rob mentioned the JCTC building is going to be a new up-and-coming restaurant, brewery type place, and I think that is awesome. I'm really excited about it, and I know a lot of community members are as well, so I know that's going to be a really great asset to our community. But yes, I do think that shopping local and just being a good citizen and giving back to your economy is one major issue there, so thank you.
Okay, the next question will begin with Mr. Adams, and we are going to do a 60-second question on this. Drug abuse is a major problem in the community, but no one entity can solve the problem. What role do you believe the city and city council has in addressing it?
If you're limited, to answer your question, when I say that, it does not mean the city leaders do not care about drugs in our community. It does not mean we don't care about people overdosing and losing their lives. It's not what it means. What it means is the city's not in the treatment business. We're not in the rehab business. We don't run the judicial center. We can't control that. What I can tell you is when I took over in my 4 years, we put on a K-9 program to help combat that drug problem. And then we currently have 2 K-9 units to help combat that problem. And our police officers are on the street every day and every night making the arrests, working the cases, taking them to the Carroll County Detention Center, and what happens from there is out of our control. The only thing I personally think helps is rehab, and it's not 30 days or 60-day rehabs. It's anywhere from 9 to 12 months. It seems to be what's successful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Franklin, you have 60 seconds.
This topic is near and dear to my heart, like I mentioned before, as being chair of Champions for a Drug-Free Carroll County. Substance abuse is a major problem. We have to recognize that first and foremost. I think we have an amazing police department, first of all. We did vote for raises for them in the past, and I absolutely stand by that. They have been amazing. I think education and treatment and working with the coalition Champions for a Drug-Free Carroll County is very important. Statistics show that education and treatment and recovery, those aspects work. Getting in the schools, talking to the children, telling them, you know, the consequences of drug and alcohol use, and getting that in their little brains when they're at a young age it works. So I think having a good relationship with them is great. Like Rob said, the K-9 unit, it has been amazing, an amazing asset to the city. And we also voted to be a partner with the schools on their school resource officer, and I think that has really helped as well.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, you have 60 seconds. Ms. 60. Okay, 60. It is 60.
If I had the answer just like these people, we'd be in Washington right now because they don't have the answer. I think the education on the young ones is where we got to start. The poor kids at home have such a bad life. I think Hayley's done a great job with what she's done with it right now. But education is all we can do, and we got to keep the kids occupied. When you're 20 and 30, if you don't take a year rehab, you're just wasting your time. It's just not going to work. But we can still get the kids before they get in trouble, and you got to have something for them. We're a small town, and we just can't provide what everybody else can. But I know we can revive on a smaller basis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question will be a 90-second question, and it begins with Ms. Franklin. Our community is blessed with a lot of good jobs. In fact, a recent state report showed the pay scale in Carroll County is third highest in the state. However, more than 60% of people holding jobs commute into here from neighboring communities. What can the city do to entice more people who work here to live here? And you have 90 seconds on that.
I think this has been an issue since I've been in high school. I can remember graduating, going off to college, and a lot of my friends didn't come back. And that's still true today. A lot of young people nowadays leave and don't come back, or they get a job here and live somewhere else, and that's an issue. We need to focus on bringing our young people back. There is a new up-and-coming group called Fuel, and that is focused on getting young people involved, getting them out there to volunteer, showing them what our community can do and what it has to offer, because they might not know. They might not know the wonderful groups and organizations that we have, and getting them involved and letting them know that Carrollton is great and you want to live here, because that's where we have to start. We have to entice them to come back and show them what a great community we really do have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller, you have 90 seconds.
That goes back to the program that I said I wanted to get going here in the thing. We've got to have new places. The only way we can get new places in town, because if you're making $20, $30 an hour, you're not going to live in a $15,000 home. We got to have new places, and the only way to do that is we've got to do it at a block at a time to get in there and build new. And if we get the places, they will move here, but we don't have it. In the county, we don't have enough places. All the nice homes are owned. I mean, they just are. We just don't have enough of them. We've got one here in town, I believe, that was going to be a duplex or condo thing, and they're going, I think the city's let them change it to put in some new housing. That will help. But the housing nowadays got to be more than one lot. If you're going to, we got 220 feet lots or 190. We don't need the length on it no more, but you got to have more width. 50-foot lots and stuff don't do it. If we tear down the houses and redo the houses, and some of them are good enough that we could revamp them, but you got to have a nicer place for them to do. And in the city limits, we're very limited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, you have 90 seconds on this question.
Well, obviously, the problem is our deteriorating housing stock that we have. Everybody knows the problem. We're just looking for a fix. The fix is, I'll touch on what Dean said, is the city is somewhat landlocked on where can we go. What do we have in the current city limits where new homes can be built? I will tell you that the Bishop's Trace Farm on 11th Street, he's been working on that for approximately 4 years. When I became mayor, within the first month, I called him. I told him how excited we were for what he was doing, how much we needed him in the city, and that we would work with him on a legal basis. We wouldn't do anything for him. We wouldn't do anything for anybody else. But the need for housing in Carrollton, and I can't make that guy come to Carrollton and build the houses. He has told me every time I talk to him, we're ready to hit the ground running in the fall. You call him in the fall, it's ready to hit the ground running in the spring. I don't know. I did ask him, was the land available to sell? Would he be willing to sell it? Because I'd be glad to market to a new developer. He said no. Other than that, in the Hill Farm on Gillock, that's really the only place we have for new housing, unless you go in the current residential part and find a vacant lot, and most people, unfortunately, don't want to build a $150,000 home in that part. It just doesn't work. So I think it's also something the county could help with. If we can't have them in the city limits, we'll take you living in our county and maybe build some subdivisions in the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Rebuttal? Okay. You have 30 seconds for your rebuttal.
Most of what he said is good, and being in the county would help the people move here, but it doesn't help the city limits. We've got to do something in town to make the town better. You've got to change, and the only way to do it, it's got to be done at blocks at a time. It's got to be done where you know that you're going to build a bigger house. We got to have some $150,000 to $200,000 homes in town, or it's not ever going to be better. People working at Dow and M&T are not going to move it here in a little small 3-bedroom. They've done that, and they want to do better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next question, we're going to do 60 seconds. It will begin with Mr. Miller, and this is one from the audience. We all talk about appearance, what to do, we have to do to get Highland 42 curbing cleaned, weeded, and well maintained. Everyone points fingers at everyone else. This one starts with Mr. Miller.
Me?
Yes. And this is 60 seconds.
Okay, this ain't really fair because I've already had this discussion once today. If I was doing it in the summer, it looked like crap. People was mowing the yards, there's grass growing out of it. We haven't had it mowed this year. There's no excuse for it. I think we need to have part-time help to do it. Now, the main streets that we're complaining about are state streets. So if there's state problem, state's not going to do it. It's not important enough for them. But if I told people, when I was the county magistrate, I went to the state and I got a contract from them. They paid me to cut their bushes, cut their trees when they joined my county stuff. And because we was coming out of one road going into crap. I got a contract with the state. They let us do it, and they paid us for what we got done, and that's the only way I can do it now. We got to just take it by the horn and get it done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Adams, you have 60 seconds.
I apologize, I could be confused. Would you repeat that question, please?
Oh, yes. And I'm not very good at reading the handwriting.
We all talk about appearance. What do we have to do to get Highland 42 curbing clean, weeded, and maintained? Everyone points fingers at everyone else.
Okay, so specific to Highland Avenue and the curbing and the weeds. Obviously, he's right, the state, they're pretty tough to work with, okay? So they're not going to do it. We have a street sweeper. It's a 1985 model. It wouldn't pick up a cigarette butt. It's just old. We had a contract with Sweep All, $7,700 a year. They came in every quarter, did rotation. We didn't feel like we was getting bang for the buck. I told them we canceled the contract, and I said, we'll call you when we need you. I called them about a month ago, give them certain streets, they $1,050, and I called and told them we're not paying the bill. They came back and redid them. The answer is the city needs to buy a street sweeper. The reason we've not bought it yet, it's $210,000. If I'm elected, that's going to have to be the big ticket item. That's what we try to do every year, find a big ticket item while other departments continue to be funded. We're going to have to acquire our own machine.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Franklin, you have 60 seconds.
So my 6 years on city council, this has probably been one of the top 3 issues that people bring to me is the grass. So one day I was running along in town and I decided that I'm going to take matters into my own hands and start mowing people's grass for free. So I don't think that's the answer, but I think that it's obviously an issue if local elected officials are taking matters into their own hands and mowing people's grass. An example was Speedway, the gas station on the corner there on Highland, and a citizen came up to me and said, it looks horrendous, we need to do something about it. So it also sometimes falls in the hands of corporate when they there's so many tiers of leadership and it's hard to get people in there and get the grass mowed. So sometimes we have to take matters into our own hands, whether it's an individual elected official or just as a city. But like Rob said, a sweeper is very much needed. We have an old one and Public Works stays busy. They stay busy. So thank you.
All right, thank you. This next question will go again with 60 seconds, and it begins with Mr. Adams. Let's turn the clock forward 4 years. What will be different in the city as we start nearing the end of 2022 because you were elected mayor, if elected?
Okay, I want to think that 4 more years of code enforcement will be 8 years under my belt, and I hope you'll be able to see a bigger difference. That all goes back to cleaning up the city and appearance and the quality of life for everybody that it affects. I don't know specifically with departments like Police Department, Public Works, but I want to think as those needs grow, you'll see that we meet those. If we need more police officers, we'll have the police officers. If Public Works need to hire more people, we'll hire more people. The master plan for the riverfront development from 5th Street all the way down to the mouth of the river up to the campground, there's a master plan we're operating off of to give more amenities. We've stuck to that. The newest thing is the splash park. So I want to see that, hope that you see the services continue. When you pay tax, you expect a service. It's our job to deliver and amenities, and I want to think that those services are met.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Franklin, you have 60 seconds.
Beautification, I think, will always be an issue, whether it's 4, 8, 12 years down the road. I think that will always be something that we can improve on, no matter what. Nothing is ever perfect in that area, unfortunately, but we do our best and we do make strides to succeed in that area. I think the follow-through with code enforcement has to be improved. It is great now, but it needs to be improved. I had 2 years on planning and zoning in 2011 and 2012, and what I learned on that board is to take citizens' recommendations to heart and really put those on the forefront of getting them done. Planning and zoning is a big issue, and that will be one big step in 4 years. It needs to be met. Thank you.
Okay, and now, Mr. Miller, you have 60 seconds.
Okay, I will start working on the issue November 7th to start getting it better. I will make the people in town more proud of themselves. They're not getting heard now. You're complaining about one thing. I mean, you're making somebody, telling somebody to mow their yard, but our inspector that comes around to tell you to mow it, yard hasn't been mowed hardly any. You tell them that the house is falling down, but his roof's bad. The city should have accommodate because it makes it look bad. And I like this inspector, been great to me, no problem. But it makes it look bad on you when you're out there doing one thing and know that not doing the other. And like I say, on the comprehensive plan for me will be to build new homes, and you got to do it one thing at a time. If we can't grow size land-wise because there's no more land in Carrollton, and they're just letting another store, convenience store in town that's going to tear up more traffic, and what it's going to do is stop another bigger store from coming to town. And I would have been against it because we need a grocery store. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move now to the last question, and this one's going to be a little bit different this evening. We're going to allow each of the candidates to ask the other two a question. They did not know about this until they came on the stage for the drawing, so no one had any extra time to prepare for this. So this will be a 60-second question, and it looks like in the rotation we'll be starting with Ms. Franklin to ask the question of the other two candidates. So you'll ask the question, and Mr. Miller, Mr. Adams, and then you'll have the same 60 seconds to follow up at the end. And we'll go through the rotation.
They both get the same question?
That was something we did, I think so. I think that's something we didn't address, but I think it would be the same question, yes.
Okay, so they want me to ask them both the same question, but they were going to be different, so now I have to think. Well, tell me one thing that...
Let me interrupt you.
Okay.
I guess I'll ask you guys, would you rather do different questions?
I'm not going to ask.
I'm not going to do
You're not going to do that?
I just don't think it's fair.
Okay.
You don't think it's fair?
No, somebody that's not there you can blow anything up out of proportion.
that. I think it's fair and it's okay. I just choose not to go there.
Choose not to go there? Okay.
It's respect.
Okay. All right, well, then we'll go
Don't
on.
take her question.
Yeah, if you want to ask,
If you-
I'm glad to answer. Be glad to answer.
Go if you want to. We added this because there was a request just for a little bit more debate and some more input from the candidates. So that's why we added that from the string. So, okay. So do you want to ask your questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, and you can ask the different questions. I will leave that up to you all.
I just wanted to ask Rob what his biggest accomplishment thus far has been as mayor.
And you'll have 60 seconds.
How long? 60 seconds.
I'm gonna, there's more than one that I'm proud of. One is, first and foremost, and most of you probably don't have any idea how important it is until you needed it and understand the system. And that was that to partner with the county government to get a new interlocal agreement to keep the Carroll County Dispatch Center here in the county, as opposed to sending it out of town, farming it out, if you will, to the state police. That's a lengthy story. I'd be glad to explain to you on why that's important. Yes, it costs more to the county, and yes, it costs more to the city. And if you need to call 911 for any service, it's going to benefit you. That's why we did it, not for Robb Adams. The 3 school resource officers, that we got 2 more starts Monday. We replaced a 40-year-old ladder truck, a fire truck that is important to you on your ISO rating that keeps your homeowner's insurance down. New playground equipment, the Vietnam moving wall, the honor banners, code enforcement, and the updates at Point Park. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Franklin, your other question for Mr. Miller.
Deanie, what is your number one thing that you want to accomplish or do if you were elected mayor?
Okay, and you have 60 seconds for that, Mr. Miller.
Okay, like it was said before, the number one thing, to me, is change the housing. I will work on it. Other thing, you can't let a guy like me buy up every house. Anybody will rent anything. I don't care what it is. And anybody that's renting houses will buy it. You can't let that happen. It's got to have better stuff to get better people in them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And so you are going to bypass that other part of the question. Okay. Then we'll move on to the closing remarks portion of the evening. Each of you will have 90 seconds for your closing remarks. And in the rotation, we move to Mr. Miller. You get to get back up again. So you'll have 90 seconds for your closing remarks. Thank you.
like we've already covered about most of it, but my problem is when you're doing, I got some people in here, we're vacant property. I had a piece of property down by me, a new slab that they never built on with plumbing. There was no reason in the world to take that new slab out of the ground. About $30,000 worth of stuff. I tried to buy it, the city gave me time. They did a great job for me, so I'm not complaining there. But somebody would have bought it and built on that piece of property. And then we go right up where they took down the car wash, same thing, concrete there, grass growed up, and they haven't done anything about that. You know, we get one thing, we had a grass problem. People don't mow. So they lowered the grass where you got to mow a thing. If you don't mow it at 8 inches, you're not going to mow it at 6, not going to do it. Down here on 7th Street, it's 7 foot tall. We need to go in and mow it. We can give them a bill, put a lien on the property. We're not going to get paid, but the neighbors around the street will appreciate it. You can take about 10 places and chase the looks of the whole town. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams, 90 seconds.
I want to say it has, for me personally, been an honor to be the mayor of Carrollton for the last 4 years. Lots of things we've got to have gotten accomplished doesn't really benefit Robb Adams personally, but it's not about me. This is not Robb's kingdom. This is a city of 4,000 people that I was elected to work with the council and to represent you and provide the things you needed and services, and I think we've done that. I look forward to another 4 years. I'm excited about the opportunity. I will tell you before I forget, anything we spoke about tonight that you want to know more about, you want to hear more about me, my ideas, anything, on October 18th at the back entrance of Butler Park at the Shelter House, there's going to be a meet and greet, whatever you want to call it. No, different one. 18th for me, hot dogs, burgers, and chips, and I want you to be able to come out and talk to me one-on-one. I'm going to tell you the list of accomplishments, what I'm proud of, what I want to do to move forward, and you're going to have the opportunity to ask me anything you want to ask me, just a little bit more personal in time than we have here tonight. I'll also tell you that the rest of that concrete that he was talking about is lots of complaints. That's one of the things you've heard about when you come into the city, what you see out the interstate. We've heard complaints when you come into the city on this, and that's we don't have an opportunity to take care of what's going on to the interstate. It's not in the city. We do have an opportunity to take care of what's down here, and that was part of that about a 2-year process, and we gave them time, so people wanted it cleaned up. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Franklin, you have 90 seconds for your closing.
Thank you guys for coming out tonight and listening to all of us. I think these are 3 great candidates for mayor. I would so much appreciate your vote on November 6th. I live and breathe Carrollton. I always have and always will, no matter the outcome of this election. And I would like to let you all know to please reach out to me at any time. Like I said earlier, my phone is always with me. It's always on. I will address any questions or concerns you have. One of my top priorities that I want to happen in Carrollton before I die, one of these days, is to get a community center here for our kids. So that is going to be one of my main goals if elected, and I appreciate you all. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you all. That concludes this portion of the debate. Or the forum this evening. I would like to thank the candidates, Mr. Dean Miller, Mr. Robb Adams, and Ms. Hayley Franklin. Thank you all for taking the time out this evening and coming out. And now I'd like to ask the audience for that round of applause for their participation.